guys, it's Lolita. Thanksgiving is finally over, and that means it's the holiday season. And when it gets cold outside, I like to make something super warm for me. So right now I'm working on a cowl that's about, I don't know, 2 feet long? I can't tell distance to save my life. But I think it's coming along pretty well. I just need to make it a bit longer so I can add a button and then put it up just like this. I found this pattern online on YouTube and decided to give it a shot. And that's where I normally get most of my patterns for my crochet projects. As you guys may know, beforehand I mentioned that I am thinking about doing a yarn work series for you guys. And today will be the first episode for that. So you guys saw my first project that I presented to you, a nice little cowl that's super thick and warm. And it has little squares that are just spaced out right here. And it seems like a cute pattern that I figured I'd try. It's different from what I normally do, and I'll be showing you guys that in a little bit. But first I wanted to say thank you guys for joining us today. Thank you for supporting me in my first episode. Let's get started. Normally, if there's a pattern that I really like or that I plan to reuse, I keep it in this little folder. So there's 4 folders in here, and each project has a little story. This one was my first printed project that I decided to start when I was crocheting. So these are little wristlets, and this pattern was created by Lion Brand. It's a cute little pattern, and when I tried it out, at the time I was a complete and total beginner. I only just learned the first 3 basic stitches when it came to crochet, and I was a complete and total disaster. I tried so hard, but reading the directions, it wasn't enough for me. I needed something visual, something with, either pictures or a video to go along with it to show me how to make it. But I still keep this pattern around just in case I want to give a crack at it again. And I think I'll definitely try it again sometime in the near future because I really did like this pattern. It looks nice. I just need to figure out how to be better at reading patterns than watching them. Now, when it gets cold outside, all I want to do is snuggle up in a nice warm blanket. And all the blankets at my house aren't thick enough for me. So I found this pattern also by Lion Brand online. And this one looks like similar, to this. But it's actually not. But the point with this is that it's supposed to be super thick. So even if you're working with thin yarn, the stitches will be a little bit bulkier, and that way it'll be warmer for when you snuggle up in it. And that's something that I really want to work with because I have a lot of thin yarn. This is actually the only thick yarn I own. So I want to use that as much as possible with my projects and definitely make it nice and comfy and warm. So this is what I'm definitely going to be doing in the near future. This one is something really near and dear to my heart right now. I'm actually working at a volunteer center for cats and dogs that have been abandoned or, are part of our TNA groups, which is Trap, Neuter, and Release. And our organization, we create little crafts and things for people to come and buy and help support us. And I was in charge of making these little cat hats. Now, I didn't come up with the pattern, but I did find it online and we have been working on it. And I'll show you my progress with this pattern in particular because I did bring it today. And I'm super excited to do this one, and I'm super excited to finish it and show it off to you guys. I'm really excited, and I really hope that it gets a lot of buzz within the volunteer community because I want to support, all the cats that I help take care of and all the dogs that need homes this Christmas. And last but not least, this one has actually been my most successful project out of the ones that I've printed. This one actually, I wanted to make a gift for an old friend, and she loves dragons. I love dragons, and I wanted to find something that helped, put that a little bit into her little, her bed at her room. So I found this stitch, and I don't know if you guys can see it or not, if Goliath could kindly zoom in, but it looks like scales. The actual name of the stitch is actually the crocodile stitch, but me, if you ever ask me like what is it, I will always call it the dragon stitch or the dragon scale stitch, because that's what it looks like to me. It looks like dragon scales, and I think it's really, really cool. This was actually a really great project. The one I made was red and black, red on the front, black on the back, and it was really nice and comfy, and it's also washable, so you can just take it apart and just throw it into the wash if you know you get stains on it or whatever, and then just take it back out, wrap up the pillow again, and you're good. And it was actually one of my probably my proudest achievement as a knitter or a crocheter, and this was actually my really, really favorite project of mine, and I definitely want to do this again. So if you guys want to see me do this, please like, comment, please, and I will definitely go about it and get the materials, the stuffing and whatever, and I'll definitely make it for you guys. So those are the projects I keep on hand. Those are the ones that I'm thinking about doing this year for the cold months, because I have no body fat. I am super cold and I need a lot of things to keep me warm. This is why I started knitting in the first place, and I started to crochet is because I get very cold and I needed something to keep me warm, but I don't want to go out and pay for it. I'd rather make it myself. And that's really where this all started. It's just me wanting to make something and, you know, share that with my friends and family. So, you guys saw this one that I'm working on right now, which is the cowl. I have a few buttons that I'm thinking about for this one in particular. So when this project's done, I'll show you guys, and you can tell me if you like the button that I choose or not, because I can always change it. But, as I mentioned, I was working on the cat hat. And so far, this cat hat really, it doesn't look like a hat at all. It's just a long piece of work. But for this pattern, what you're supposed to do is that you're supposed to fold it in half. Let me move this. Sew up the sides so you know there's no holes in your hat. And then you're supposed to sew in the sides of the corners. So that way it shrinks in, and when you put it on, it looks like cat ears. And I'm really excited for this one, as I mentioned before, because I really want to support my volunteers. I want to support the cats that I help take care of, because they're really precious and they always love, excuse me, love keeping me company while I work on these. So I'm very excited to get this one done. I've been working on it on and off because I have been busy with work. But whenever I do get the free time, I do like to work on this one. And then there's this. If I can just unroll it, there you go. So this is what would normally look like a scarf or, you know, starting piece of a cowl. But actually, this is just some scrap yarn that I have been putting together, and what I do with it is that I just go every other stitch between a single crochet and a double crochet, so it makes this sort of ribbed pattern for you guys, if you can see it. And what I'm doing with this is I have a lot of yarn, but it's not enough to make a single project. So I wouldn't be able to make a whole blanket with this, or a whole hat, or a whole scarf. So what I'm doing is I'm putting these all together in little blocks and making a sort of strange quilt blanket. It's interesting because I have a lot of different colored yarn. I have blues, I have reds, I have black, I have, what's it called? Like forest colors. Different colors that don't seem to make any sense, but I'm just gonna put it all together and just make one crazy blanket for you guys, because it's interesting just to see like what you can do with different types of yarn, different scraps of yarn, and just make something beautiful out of it. That's what I plan on doing with this yarn. So with this yarn, after I'm done making my huge collaboration of a blanket, I plan on getting some nice quality yarn, because the yarn that I've been getting has been from family or from friends or from secondhand stores, and sometimes they're not exactly what I'm looking for. Most of them are acrylic or acrylic wool combination. I'm starting to do more research into the different types of yarn, how it's made, what kind of sheep people raise to make the wool, how they dye the wool, all this stuff. And for me, I want to be more involved in that aspect of the creation, because being able to make stuff with yarn is fantastic, but being able to learn and study from how it's made from the very beginning, that's what I love as someone who does a lot of yarn work. I want to be someone who starts it completely from scratch and makes something beautiful with it at the end. So I'm actually looking into getting some alpaca and silk wool. So I've seen it in the Renaissance Fair, I've seen it at many different conventions, and it's just so soft and luxurious. And beforehand, I couldn't purchase it, mainly because I didn't know where, and I didn't know like how much it costed, because at the time I didn't have enough income to be able to get like really nice yarn, and my mom kind of banned me from getting more yarn until I finish all the ones that I have. So that's where the main idea of the whole patchwork blanket comes in, is so I can just get rid of all that yarn and get the nice stuff now that I have money. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to doing that. I'll let you guys know on future projects what kind of yarn I'm using, where I got it from, if I like it or not, because I want to be honest with you guys. Sometimes the yarn that I get, I think I'm gonna love it, and then I try working with it and it's just not that great. And then there are some yarns that I'm like, maybe it'll be okay, and then I absolutely fall in love with it. Like, I'll give you an example. I was shopping in my early years of crochet and knitting, like back in middle school. This was years ago, and I didn't really know what to look for. So I just went to my local Michael's and I picked out something that I thought was nice. The yarn that I had, it was Lion brand, I believe. I don't remember what exactly the name of it was. I think it was homespun, but it was sort of wavy, not exactly like straight yarn like you see here. Like this is flat, this is straight. The one that I had was sort of like, think of something like this, and then just extra material that wraps around this and makes the little waves. So that's what I was working with, and I was making a project for my dad. I think it was a hat. Yeah, it was a hat, because he recently came back from Peru, and he told me about the hats that the Peruvians had, and that depending on the length of the tail of the hat was the status of the person. So I made sure to make a hat for him with earmuffs. And it had a really long tail because he's, the man of the house. And that was a fun project. But working with the yarn was it was not fun. It was just difficult to see where my work was starting and where it ended. And so I made a lot of mistakes, and it took me much longer than it needed to be. So that was a learning experience for me.